afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Zahn Academy. Today, we have a special presenter. We have Tim Torbenson here with us, and he's going to be discussing a FDA-cleared workflow for milling custom abutments. So we're very excited to have you here, Tim. Thank you so much for joining us. And Tim has prepared a few poll questions to start out with. So if you wouldn't mind, we're going to have those pop up now. And if you wouldn't mind taking a couple of seconds just to please answer them so that we know who we have in the audience and what special needs that Tim will have to address from the results of those. So I'm going to pop up our first poll question. And I just want to let you know also that Tim will be taking questions at the end of his presentation, and you can pop those right into the Q&A section as we're going, and we'll take those questions at the very end. So I'm going to start with the first poll. I'm going to launch that. And it says, are you registered with the FDA for in-house milling custom abutments? So if you wouldn't mind answering. And Tim, I'm just going to turn this over to you now so that you will be able to just give everybody a little brief overview of who you are and what you do.
Well, and thank you for that nice introduction. I appreciate it. And I always appreciate the invitation to speak before our industry. To give you a little background on myself, and that is I've been involved in this industry for 46 years, actually 47, coming up on 48. It's just going too dang fast. As you know, it's going fast because as well as everything is changing and much for the better. But so my background is I started out in a dental laboratory. My father was a dental lab owner and invited me into the business, and I've been here ever since. Over the past 40 plus years, I've been involved with dental implant companies with regard to manufacturing dental implants, marketing dental implants, getting regulatory clearance on them, designing them. So I really love that aspect and really got involved with dental laboratories on how to help them teach their dentists how to treatment plan implant cases. As we all know, some of them came to us and they were hardly restorable because of implant placement. So I really enjoyed that aspect. And now we're looking at that second question is, are you outsourcing custom abutments due to FDA requirements? That's a great question because that's really why we're having this entire presentation is that things have changed and we're going to dig into it deep today. And I'm really hoping for a lot of questions and dialogue with you on this because it really is truly a change. So I'm going to dig into this, and the title's a little bit deceptive because I don't get into the business side of this to a certain extent. I do want to discuss some specific ROI related to the regulatory costs and how they are going to relate to you, and we're going to present that in this presentation. And with that, I'm going to need some information is, are you registered with the FDA for sleep appliances or other reasons that include or don't include in-house custom abutments? Because we know that there's people out there who are contract manufacturer for Airways Technologies or Meyerson. And with that, they had to be registered with the FDA. And it doesn't have anything to do with custom abutments. So that information is really going to help me as I go forward on really how to speak to this and make it custom just for you. Make sure you get what you want. So if I was thinking about this title and I addressed it a little bit, and when I put the presentation together, I probably would consider changing it a little bit to what we're going to discuss is freedom and peace of mind manufacturing without FDA oversight. Now, I think that should be pretty important to every one of you who are listening in today, is because one of the reasons you stayed out of it was because of your concern of FDA. So I would kind of add that in as some information if I was going to label or title this presentation. And then the other one, when someone asked me, he says, like, what are you going to talk about? And I said, well, I'm going to discuss returning to common sense of 2015. And the reason that was so true is because what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about getting back to the common sense, because the FDA really made the changes in 2016, but now in 2023 and 2024, we have the ability to return to the common sense through the digital dentistry workflow. And the digital dentistry workflow is going to be a lot of our conversation today. And I think you're going to enjoy it. And of course, our major, I'm sorry.
I just want to give you the results before you get on, so that you know exactly like what the attendees are here for. So 100% of our attendees are not registered with the FDA for custom milling. 100% are not outsourcing for milling their custom abutments. And 100% are not registered for sleep appliances as well.
Okay. That's going to give us a lot of short information then. I'm going to take some. No, I'm still going to address the issues because I think it's going to be important. But thank you for that. Because right after this slide, when I talk about, I'm giving you an opportunity to understand your options, we're going to get into the presentation. And thank you for that information. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. That is surprising to me. And I was hopeful that we would have a number of responses that were positive, that they are in any one of those categories. But we shall move forward. So one of the things that I was talking about this after being in the industry now for 40 plus years, and I have witnessed so much change and evolution because of the technology advances. And with that, our FDA dental division has also evolved with us, as we talked about back in 2016 when they incorporated some new requirements when we're manufacturing custom abutments. But what has happened, what we're going to discuss today, is something that's evolved for the better. And to help understand that, I'm going to dig a little bit into the FDA, the documents, the 510Ks, the indications for use, and the definitions and the product codes. And it's not going to take long, but it's really important that we have a clear understanding of where the FDA is coming from, why, and how. And so with this one, for example, this is from a 510K that was submitted in 2022 and was not cleared until March of 2023. So it took a while to get this through. And what this is, and this is the most important part, so I'm going to increase the size of this. This is kind of the whole basis of our conversation today on what the difference is and what your options are presented through this. So the indications for use that is as defined in the DESS 510K is that all digitally designed custom abutments for use with DESS bases or pre-mill blanks are to be sent to a Teretz validated milling center for manufacture. That goes back to the 2016 requirement that I keep referring to, which really made it a completely different process for dental laboratories to get involved with in-house milling. They had to become a validated milling center. So up until this 510K clearance, which was March in 2023, it included and incorporated this extremely important statement where this "or" comes into play, which I love it being there, and so are you, because it is "or to be designed and manufactured according to the digital dentistry workflow." And I've already mentioned that's what we're going to focus in on, because the digital dentistry workflow integrates multiple components, scanned files from intraoral labs, desktop scanners, CAD software, CAM software, ceramic material, milling machines, and associated tooling and accessories. So that tells us that the FDA is now going to clear through a digital dentistry workflow that includes specific components as just listed here. Okay. And that just kind of sets the stage for what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a validated milling center, and we're going to talk about a digital dentistry workflow. So let's get into it of what is what. All right. So what is a validated milling center? And again, this goes back to 2016. And I sent a letter to our friend Andrew Steen, who is the acting assistant director in the dental division of the FDA. And basically, he said a validated milling center is a dental implant abutment industry term for what the FDA considers to be manufacturing partner, more adaptly defined as a contract manufacturer. And that is why I asked the question, is anybody here a contract manufacturer for any of the other dental companies where sleep appliances, orthodontic aligners, surgical guides, whatever it might be? And because they are all related to each other. But without having a contract manufacturer present, I'm going to kind of skip through of this, but I'm still going to give you a good idea of what it's all about. Because if you are a contract manufacturer, then you are responsible for registering your establishment and listing the facility and the devices that you're manufacturing under that contract manufacturer agreement, and then also implementation of manufacturing procedures in line with the quality system regulations. So that's very clear. And it is a major change for dental laboratories that go back again to that 2016 incorporation of this requirement as a validated milling center when you're going to bring milling custom abutments in-house. So that's when we started our companies to help dental laboratories do that in a practical and logical form. All right. So here is the NHA 510K, and this goes back now to 2021 when it was cleared. And this is specific to increase the size for all of our eyes, is all digitally designed custom abutments for use with DESS bases or blanks are to be sent to a TERRET's valid milling center for manufacture. So going back to 2021, when this came out, this was the only option that we had. We had to become a DESS validated milling center. And so as we just addressed, I want to talk to you about the options. And we talked about what the digital dentistry workflow is. But just so you understand where the FDA is coming from back then, it is with blanks and with bases, they are saying that they're unfinished devices. And so you can't just put this in a patient's head like you can, like a multi-unit abutment. It just won't work. And the same is true with a base. So what the FDA defined this as they are digitally processed, tie bases and tie blanks are unfinished devices. They are not finished devices until the dental laboratory modifies the tie bases and pre-mills into deliverable completed restorations. That was the change. So when we look at all of these abutments down here that you've been working with for years, they were considered as finished devices and fell under Section 807.65 exemptions for device establishments. And we're going to get into this a little bit deeper. I know you're excited about that. But that was what separated the digitally designed and manufactured base, and blank from all the other devices that you've been working with for years with dental implants and modifying by hand. Or they're finished devices that can go directly into the patient's implant and then become functioning immediately because they're finished devices. Okay. So what I wanted to talk about, and when I talked about if you're registered with any of these companies that give you the opportunity to manufacture these appliances, then it is a little bit more of a simpler process to incorporate in-house milling because you're already there as a registered device or manufacturer. Or if you're importing, if you're getting restorations from offshore, that there's being manufactured there, it's being shipped to you, you're importing them, and they're then being distributed to the United States. That too requires a registration. So with them, it is also a very easy step to become a registered facility by adding a validated milling center for DESS. And the advantage with that, as compared to what we're going to look at, is a validated milling center. The workflow gives you the opportunity to work with any scanner. It is not listed. It is not defined. You are free and clear to use any scanner, any CAD software, any mix of equipment, or any restorative material. So it is truly an open digital workflow as a validated milling center / contract manufacturer when you're registered with the FDA and with these manufacturers. So that is what we refer to as the open digital workflow, which comes from the registration with the FDA. And later, I'm going to discuss a little bit about the cost associated with that and some of the steps. We touched on them briefly in the FDA term, but I'm going to get into it in more lay terms here soon. And of course, some of the biggest advantages are, in brief, are one, we have a digital quality system that gives you the opportunity to really simplify the process of being compliant with the FDA as a registered medical facility. But also it gives you the opportunity to sort and create reports and really identify what's going on within your manufacturing operations quite quickly and easily, which is not available in the old analog system. This being registered with the FDA as a medical device manufacturer does give you the opportunity to increase production and compatibilities range, because it's totally open, it's totally free. So you can do so many other services and present them to your customers. And that gives you the ability to acquire more customers because you're doing more services, more restorations, more appliances, whatever it might be. That is one of the true advantages of working with the FDA. But we will get into the cost associated with that and the actions associated with that in a little bit. All right. So more importantly, what we really want to talk about today is what is the digital dentistry workflow? And I covered that briefly in the 510K when I discussed that. But I went back to our friend Andrew Steen, who is still the acting assistant director. And basically, he came back with the same response as was indicated in the indications for use within their 510K. But he went a little bit deeper, and I appreciated it because it's important that we understand this in the presentation. Because he mentioned two things. He said, you asked about requirements for dental laboratories to operate under quality system regulations when using medical device cleared under product code PNP. That is a really important consideration here. And we're going to talk about that and describe it in layman's terms so that we're all on the same page. The other one is that when we work with that abutment design software for dental laboratories, and we mix it with those in DESS Dental Implant Abutment, which is product code NHA, cleared as a secondary product code PNP, are intended for design and manufacture of the patient-specific portion of the dental abutment at the dental office or dental laboratory. So it sounds like, okay, what I really want you to get out of this is that we're now taking that 510K clearance for just the abutment NHA, and now we're creating a secondary product code PNP. That is what the digital dentistry is all about. Now, here's a lot of information from Andrew, but I'm going to cut it down to the two most powerful statements that really impact you, and that is domestic dental laboratories are exempt from registration when performing certain manufacturing distribution activities under 807.65. This is critically important for you, and it makes a tremendous difference between being a validated milling center and working under the digital dentistry workflow. And then this is the next important thing, because at this time, Andrew continues, that there is no requirement for the user, the dental laboratory, of an FDA cleared device with the PNP product code to follow quality system regulations for on-label use of the device. All right, so I'm going to get into this a little bit later and explain it, because it's a lot of information coming forward, and I know it creates some confusion, but now I'm going to do my best to kind of straighten this all out with you, okay? First off, let me get to that 807.65. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm going backwards. All right, this is an FDA slide, and this is in their presentation that is specific to FDA establishment registration exemption. And we can go through all these words, but it is what Andrew was referring to in his statement and what dental laboratories have been working under since 1976, and that they're exempt from registering with the FDA, nor did they have to work under a quality system. So that is what Andrew was referring to, is going back to operating under this, and where my statement comes from, which is, hey, we're returning back to the common sense of 2015 before that 2016 validated milling center requirement came up. All right. So we've already kind of defined this. You got this in your heads. And it should be clear now is that the NHA abutment, NHA product code, and this is not an acronym. These are just arbitrary letters to ID a device or a process. There's no meaning to any of them. So don't try to figure out the FDA, will drive you nuts. But this is the NHA abutment, which is the endogenous dental implant abutment. Okay. And then the FDA's product code PNP is for the dental abutment design software for dental laboratory. So that's it. So separately, as you know, this is the original 510K we looked at from DESS, which required the validated milling center. And then the PNP, for example, is for your 3Shape or exocad and such, where you're using their software for design. All right, that's pretty simple. Everybody knows this. Now, you know it now. Okay. So that gives us two options when we talk about bringing it in-house. When we talk about bringing the milling of custom abutments in-house, either as a validated milling center or under the PNP NHA digital dentistry workflow. That is all what your options are today. All right. So let's look at a little bit of history here. I'm still going to stick with this, but it's going to be quick. Because one of the first ones that came out was InLab, and the other one that came out was the Straumann M series. And as you can see, this goes back quite a ways. But what DESS has done is completely different than what Straumann did. Okay, because Straumann really took control through the way they presented their PNP NHA 510K to the FDA, because what they did is they dictate the equipment that you must use. You know that everything is Straumann manufactured. They dictate the materials you must use, and they provided a specific list that only worked within their system. So it was really constricted. And they dictate the components you must use. So everything is either Neodent or Straumann. So they really locked it down to be truly what I refer to as a closed system, as compared to what we looked at as the open system as the validated milling center. But the good news is, when I talk about this same digital workflow, and we're talking about it now available through Zahn as the DESS 510Ks, even though you still must manufacture the process, then it is limited as stated in the IFU that we reviewed, and we're going to review it again. One of the things that they've done is they're providing manufacturing options through the DESS and available at Zahn. And I'm going to share this with you exactly how it's done, but it's going to give you more options and get away from the very limited and what's stated within their IFU. Now, what was cleared back in March of 2023 is this IFU, indications for use. And as you can see, it lists out specifically what ceramic material, what zirconia you're going to use. It also lists exactly that you're going to use the multi-link cement from Ivoclar and what scanners you're going to use. And it gives you some options, but not much. And it also gives you a desktop scanner and it gives you the software, and it gives you the specific mill to use, which is the VHF R5 with a specific 2 different CAM softwares. So that is not as restricted as Straumann, because these are not DESS related products. But what they have done is that they've opened this up for you through their regulatory processes. So one of the things that the other PNP, and there's a number of other PNP NHA systems, 510Ks out there, and that are coming from other systems that provide you information, but still they provide fewer implant options available. There are fewer scanners, fewer mills, fewer CAD, fewer CAM, and milling bonded material is few with others. Whereas DESS, and we're going to get into this real quick, they have expanded their system to increase your control options. So they have, first off, they have 28 plus implant systems available. And I'm going to present to you very soon the scanners that you have available, the mill options, the CAD options, CAM options, and the bonding material options. So they have taken the responsibility with consideration of the marketplace, and they've really taken their ecosystem and they're increasing it, and they're going to be constantly increasing it to benefit you and give you more options. So let's take a look at this list. All right, and you guys, we're going to spend some time on this because this is really important. And I'm hoping that when we get to that question slide, that we have a lot of discussions and maybe even go back to the slide of what's here and how it impacts you positively. Because I'm going to go back to my statement is that when you're operating under the DESS PNP scope or the validated digital dentistry workflow, you do not have to register with the FDA. Okay, and then we're going to talk about the advantages there from a financial point of view. But let's look at this. First off, the DESS products, obviously they're tie bases and pre-mill blanks. All right, so that's everything that you need. And the blanks are different sizes, so you can do some off-angle corrections and such, as you know, with the tie bases as well. The scanners, when we looked specifically at what was in their original submission, they've expanded it a little bit. Okay, so that's good. But if you're using 3Shape right now, everything that's in the green is available and usable under their digital dentistry workflow without having to register with the FDA. Okay. Now we look at Dentsply, Omnicam, and PrimeScan. That is going to come in March and April. So within this month or the next. So if that is what you're using, you will have the ability to incorporate and start right now with the process of incorporating in-house milling, because it's right around the corner. And then Identica and iTero, that is coming before December or before summer. All right. So this is a tremendous expansion compared to that. Remember that list I gave you? It was very limited. The CAD system designs, 3Shape is actual, and exocad is again coming in March or April. So flexibility, a lot of labs are operating with both of these or with one or the other. But so they're going to have the opportunity to work with them very soon. And here's the big changes, the CAM and the milling, because in the original list I shared with you, it was the VHF R5. Well, now we have the dental CAM, we have dental CNC, we have Amann Girrbach, we have a Roland mill, Imus iCore, Dymoc, and Aurum. So that's all available in the green. So if you're working with 3Shape and you have any of these mills in-house and you're milling titanium, you can now incorporate through DESS digital dentistry workflow and the participation was on, bring this in-house without having to register with the FDA. That's huge, really. And then coming before the summer is going to be Hyperdent, Millbox, Dentsply, MCX5, and then a couple more Amann Gerbach. So this is really going to give you the opportunity to be very flexible within the digital workflow. Tremendous opportunities. When we go to the bonding, hyperlink is still there. I'm sorry, multi-link is still there. Zerlux is theirs, and there's a couple others going to be added. So you can get them obviously through Zahn. Then you'll have a lot of availability and flexibility. Unlike the truly closed system that we experienced with Straumann and what does exist with the other companies. And I'm really hoping, and we can come back to this slide, we can address it, but I hope this really fired up some questions within you that we're going to get to here pretty quick. So let's look at the regulatory savings, okay? So this is almost like an immediate ROI because as I've explained, there is an annual FDA registration if you're in-house milling custom abutments as a validated milling center. And last year, the registration for the FDA was above $7,500. And again, that's annual. That's not a one-time shot. So if you go as a validated milling center, that's your fee. If you are within the PNP or the digital workflow, there is none. All right. So that's easy. That's easy math. Okay. That's $7,000 plus. All right. And then EvoWay 20, to have a quality system that is 100% FDA compliant, we have a one-time fee of $8,000 for that. But now we have for $4,000, half that price, we have a quality system that is truly a business management tool that eliminates a lot of the extraneous documentation that you need to do to be FDA compliant, but it focuses in on the maintenance on your equipment, your relationship with your customers, the activities within your staff and employees as far as their performance. It really gives you a tremendous opportunity to better manage the digital workflow within your laboratory. And that is something that you'll have for forever. All right, so let's talk about your ongoing ROI. So you don't have this. I mean, it's gone because you are operating under this. So that's ongoing every year, $7,500 at least that you get to keep. Because when we started with this and going back, let's just say 2018, we'll go with 2018. The FDA registration was like $2,600. So since that time, it's gone up to $7,500 and it continues to go up. So that is something that's immediate. Some of the other things that I know when I talk to my clients, for example, if they're outsourcing, and which I know none of you are doing now, but when they outsource a custom abutment, it's about $200 to have that. They send out their design, they get back a finished device. And with the DESS components, this is only the component only, it's about $40 to $50. So that means, yes, you do have to have all of the additional investment for equipment and some of the other activities that take place. But as I understand it, it's going to be a tremendous savings for you, and it's common sense that it is, especially when we look at the FDA savings. All right. So you remember my title, Freedom and Peace of Mind Without Oversight, with the FDA, which is really critically important because it gives you some equipment options that we just reviewed, and you can use existing or the listed equipment options. So if you're presently working with IMUS iCore and you're cutting titanium, you're in the program. I mean, that is, you don't have to go out and buy another mill. You don't have to go buy that VHF R5, right? And the scanner and CAD options as we presented, that is right there giving you the opportunity to have some control of what's taking place within your laboratory instead of being restricted to a specific recipe. And then again, we've covered this, it's almost covered it to death, but with no FDA registration, there is no concern of an FDA inspector visiting or any of the annual fee. I think that's one thing I didn't address, is that once you're registered with the FDA, you are on the list then to be audited by the FDA. And it's really not, I mean, it's a sphincter tightener without a doubt, but I have been on 19 of those now with my clients, and none have been punitive, where there's been no financial penalty, there's been no closure. Everybody has gotten through that without any pain. And of course, there is no FDA compliant QSR, which in its totality, it is truly burdensome record keeping. And so without it, what you have is a system that is truly only a business tool that will benefit you moving forward. Okay. Are there any questions on that? I'm going to skip through this just for the sake of time. And I'm at my final slide. So I'm really hoping for some questions and some comments that would be coming through, so that you have a real clear understanding, because I know FDA really well and I know dentistry and implant dentistry really well, but sometimes I can still be a little bit confusing. So help me out.
So we have a couple of questions, okay? And the first one is, it's from Heath, and he doesn't mean to go backward, but he thought the implant company was supposed to carry the FDA regulations and clearance, not the labs. So can you answer that question for him?
Yeah, and that's not going backwards at all. And that is exactly true. So the FDA 510K clearance is held by, in this case, DESS. And there are other companies out there like ELOS. There's a number of companies that carry their own 510Ks for their components. The dental laboratory, under the requirement of the FDA, when becoming a contract manufacturer slash validated milling center, to operate under their own equipment, without any restrictions to mills, to zirconia, to anything except to use their pre-mills and their tie bases, then the dental laboratory has to register with the FDA as a validated milling center, again, slash contract manufacturer. The company, in this case, DESS, is carrying the 510K. The dental laboratory does not need a 510K. All right, they do not. For anything. They can manufacture, well, I should not say anything. They can manufacture sleep appliances with, let's say, Airways Technologies or Meyerson under a contract manufacturer with them. Because those companies, Airway Technologies and Meyerson, is holding the 510K. So that is, I'm trying to think. I'm hoping I addressed that. If not, please, you can repost your question and ask for more clarity in any specific area. But the dental laboratory does not have to operate under a 510K, but they need to interact with companies who do have the 510K for whatever class 2 devices they're manufacturing. Okay. So if I see another question, and is, I have a VHF R5 mill, and you're saying I can't mill implant parts with the FDA. Oh, it went away. So if you have the VHF R5, that you can definitely use that mill and become a partner with Zahn and DESS, operating under their digital dentistry workflow, and not register with the FDA and not operate under the full quality system requirement of the FDA, because that is in the list. It's the most expensive component in the list that exists in their original 510K clearance, that in their original recipe, I shall say, call it. So you are 100% compliant with them, with that mill in operation.
Okay, we are open to any more questions. If anybody has any, just type them in at your Q&A section. Tim, I want to thank you so much for all the incredible information that you've given to all the attendees. I'm sure that they are so happy to hear everything that you have to say about this workflow and about the FDA clearance of it. I want to let everybody know what's coming up on Zahn Academy. Wednesday, March 20th, we're going to be talking with Asiga about the new portfolio expansion and the 2024 product lineup. So that should be exciting. That's on Wednesday, March 20th. And Zahn is coming to a city near you with our road shows, our 2024 road shows. So the first one, we will be on Friday, April 19th in Nashville, Tennessee at the Westin Nashville. And in May, we have a two-part roadshow, the first being on May 2nd, and that will be a 3-shape denture design, one-on-one. We're only taking 10 designers for that, so it's going to be very one-on-one instruction on that, and that will be in Salt Lake City at the Marriott University Park. And on the next day, we'll be having our 3D printing roadshow at the Marriott University Park. So we'd love it if you came and join us at either one of these road shows, with more coming. Okay. These road shows will be everything about 3D printing dentures and design to print and finishing, with options on materials and equipment, along with all new innovation in equipment and technology that we've seen in Chicago for 2024. So they're exciting, they're fun, it's very intimate learning. We just have a good time, and it's great to be part of this learning experience. Also, I want to let you know about any financing options that we do have. You can get in touch with your Zahn representative to learn more about them. If there's any piece of equipment or anything that you're looking to expand into your laboratory, along with if you have any questions at all about what Tim had discussed along with DESS, please contact your Zahn representative, and they'd be happy to get any questions that you have answered and get you to the right person for any additional information that you need. Thank you again, Tim. We really enjoy having you here with us here at Zahn Academy. We value you and all the information that you give to our attendees. So thank you again from everybody here at Zahn, and we wish everybody a wonderful day.
Yeah, it was my pleasure, and readily available if anybody has any further questions. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.